10. Springtrap. Craftix Gaming's YouTube channel features a video of a real Springtrap costume, and honestly, it's terrifying. Springtrap is the main animatronic of FNAF 3, and this costume is freaking nuts. This is a very good costume, and while Springtrap may not be the scariest animatronic, he's not someone I'm gonna want to tussle with. However, I want to talk about what's going on with this character because, my guy, you dressed up as a possessed man who is inhabiting an animatronic, unable to die but still decaying. You are quite literally dressing up as a serial killer. Like in the FNAF world, if you dressed up like this, it'd be like if you dressed up as Ted Bundy in this world. And if you want to be in FNAF that badly, okay, don't dress as the serial killer, is all I'm saying. And I know that's ironic coming from me, okay, given what I'm dressed like at this moment. Do I look like I want to be in Five Nights at Freddy's? Have I made things seem like I want to be in this world? Because if I have, you need to watch more of these videos, okay? Also, I'm dressed up as the purple guy who makes no appearance in the actual FNAF world, okay? There is no actual, okay, there is the actual purple guy, but he doesn't look like this, okay? The purple guy that I am dressed as is not actually a real version of the serial killer in their world, okay? I don't want to be in that world. Those doors aren't it, Chief. They ain't it. No, the doors ruin it for me. And 9, Scrap Baby. Scrap Baby is a creepy animatronic. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Scrap Baby is by far creepier than the normal baby animatronic, and this costume certainly does it justice. Animatronics are a difficult costume to really make, since we're people, and unfortunately do not have robotic limbs for the most part. Or if we do, we typically try to make it look like a real leg instead of a robot leg. But a Scrap Baby is even more difficult since, you know, it's a scrap animatronic, and it has a giant freaking claw in its hand. Scrap Baby is a very damaged and recycled version of Baby with a realistic reddish orange kind of bodysuit, light blue stuff, yellow pigtails, and okay, she wears an orange top with red frills, and it's just super damaged, okay? Like this, she's very damaged. Mentally and physically. Yet somehow Instagram user Gaius Bazzani was able to recreate this in an awesome way. So, very well done. And at 8, Vanny. With Vanny being an upcoming villain and already one of the most popular characters in the series, there are bound to be plenty of costumes of her. However, this one from Rojito Uwu on Twitter is probably the most accurate and creepiest one I've seen. Vanny being a reluctant follower does in a way technically make this a glitch trap cosplay as well, but we won't really talk about that because that's not what counts. This costume is probably the most realistic costume on this list because, well, Vanny in the games ended up making her own suit and is just a human inside, whereas like the other characters like Scrap Baby or Springtrap are animatronics as well as sometimes part human, be it soul or another body. And Rojito's costume follows the exact same concept as Vanny, just a person who makes their own suit, which makes this potentially one of the scariest things of all. I mean, technically it's not the same thing because they're not possessed and enticed to make it by the person possessing their brain, but I mean, it's close enough. I mean, they could be possessed for all we know. I don't know. I don't know. And at 7, Freddy. Feel like this one's kind of obvious, but I have to say it anyway. Freddy was the mascot when the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opened up in 1983. And in 1987, he and the original animatronics had fallen into severe disrepair. That's when Freddy was replaced with his newer counterpart for the improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. You know, Toy Freddy. After that pizzeria closed, as well as the toy animatronics getting scrapped though, they refurbished the old animatronics for the new pizzeria, which was the old pizzeria, which is the one that we see in the first game. Yeah, that's FNAF. However, after the closure of that pizzeria, he and the other animatronics got dismantled by William Afton, the killer of the series. But Freddy is literally the title character, okay? Of not only the movie, but the series as well. And while he may not have originally been intended to move off the stage, he does now. He's the most iconic FNAF animatronic ever. He has like 15 variations on his design over the past 8 years since the series has been active. So yeah, I want to know, I expect to see Freddy on the big screen. And if he isn't there, I will riot at the local Chuck E. Cheese. And at 6, Nightmare Freddy. Nightmare Freddy is one of the most iconic versions of the character, even if there are only 3 games that feature this guy, those being FNAF 4, Ultimate Custom Night, and FNAF VR. However, this Nightmare Freddy cosplay is insane, and in my opinion, would have been our front runner for the Coupe de France cosplay competition that it was for back in 2017. The video was uploaded by YouTube channel Gorgon Geek, and this guy plays the robot thing really well. But as soon as he drops that microphone, he goes into terror mode, and it's certainly something to behold. I would have enjoyed it if he had like the little frettles with him, but the moving mouth is certainly a nice touch, especially with the attempted jump scares they do in the video, because he just goes like ah and stuff. Like, imagine if this guy had started twerking though. At one point I thought he was going to. He went to pick up the mic and I thought he was just going to start busting it, but no. I think that would have won them gold though. If you get this out of here. If you had started twerking, my guy, you would have won. I don't know what place you came in, but if you'd twerked, you would have won. Halfway through, in at number 5, System Error Toy Bonnie. System Error Toy Bonnie is a neon-themed skin for Toy Bonnie released as part of FNAF AR's Arcade Mayhem event. And while it may seem peculiar and out of place in the backrooms, think about it. The backrooms is a location that's only accessible by no-clipping through the world, accidentally. So understandably, something that revolves around system errors would be lurking within this developer's room, okay? He looks the part too. He shares the same model as Toy Bonnie, but with a few key differences. His general color, including his bow tie, is a neon reddish orange with lines that go through his entire body, similar to the screen effect of an old CRT TV. He also has a pixelated 8-bit style effect coming from his entire body. His mouth and eyes gleam yellow, and red system error text is printed on his stomach, and glowing white eyebrows, freckle spots, and a glowing nose, but he's not Rudolph. How is this not creepy backrooms material, okay? It's a bit iffy, hence why it's still at number 5, but still, it could be cool. And at 4, Nightmare. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Nightmare is the scariest animatronic from the games, hands down. This guy will get me every time, and it's one of those reasons I just refuse to play FNAF 4. The other is Nightmare Fredbear, but at least I don't have to deal with them in real life, right? They're only a nightmare character created in the mind of a coma patient in a video game, right? Well, guess again. Thanks to Zombunny Creations on Amino Apps, we get both Nightmare and Nightmare Fredbear. Ironically, Nightmare Fredbear is played by their twin sister. And I mean, it's ironic because, well, Elizabeth Afton is sometimes presumed to be Crying Child's twin sister. Anyway, these absolute hulking costumes are going to make me drop a load of my pants. Like, if I saw this in real life, holy crap. Like, imagine actually living in a house that is at least kind of laid out like the one from FNAF 4. And then your kids want to play a prank on you. My grandparents' house is kind of laid out like this. It's not as simple as just 2 halls on either side of the room. But like, they have the master bedroom does have 2 doors. So theoretically, that's something that can be reenacted there. I don't want to do that. No. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Destroyed Glamrock Chica. A broken Glamrock Chica animatronic can be found in the sewer area, or I guess it's kind of sewers, but it's also kind of not. It's cracked and broken all over the body. We saw this in the final teaser image from that one doco stream. She has paint scraping off the legs and face, and her beak has been broken off, exposing her endoskeleton jaw. The lower left side of her torso also has a massive hole in it, and the plastic suit on her left arm is entirely missing, with the exception of her wrist. Glamrock Chica seems to wander around the Pizzaplex aimlessly as well until spotting Gregory and charging at him, but in her destroyed state, she seemingly runs a little faster. I guess maybe she's more aerodynamic, you know, because like all the air gets through, it's not stopped by the animatronic chassis. You know, flows through the robotic parts, I don't know. But when inside Glamrock Freddy, she doesn't notice the player at all. She'll just stand in place. But you're also able to like knock over like paint cans and stuff to distract her so that she can move away and then you can go, but you gotta be careful. You gotta do that fast. And ultimately, in at number 2, Twisted Freddy. Holy ever living hell, okay? This is a horrific masterpiece that I could only hope to achieve. This full body Twisted Freddy costume is probably one of the most horrific FNAF costumes I've ever seen. Especially because I believe that the Twisted animatronics are probably the scariest version of the animatronics present in the novels, and a solid tie for the scariest animatronics alongside the nightmare ones from FNAF 4. This is some pretty damn expert craftsmanship if you ask me though, okay? This is a full body suit and it blows my freaking mind. Like, look at this. It would weigh a ton and it would definitely need a hander, especially if my clumsy was the one walking around in it, but it straight up looks like if Freddy Krueger were an animatronic. And I mean, I'm not mad about it in the slightest, but like, it's still freaking creepy. So well done, DeRegular Sauce, who is the Twitter user behind this glorious creation. Well done. And finally, in at number 1, Withered Bonnie. This Withered Bonnie cosplay is probably the scariest damn FNAF cosplay I've ever seen. This is incredible and comes from the YouTube user The Nick of Time. At first I legitimately thought that this was CGI instead of an actual costume, but lo and behold, it was just an insane costume. Glowing eyes and seemingly actually aluminum parts, and a chest that opens up that you can push it out with your other hand, which is honestly actually a decent scare. Frankly, in the video I was kind of taken aback when they did that, so in real life I'm sure that it was results in at least a bit of a jump scare, but this kind of thing always impresses the hell out of me, because like the closest I've come to making a full costume was when I helped someone work on one of theirs. But that's the closest I've gotten. Hey, I made like a lightning bolt for the chest, and I helped, I made paper cup, like bracers, that's about it. This is hella impressive to me. I don't understand how people do this. And 10, the Purple Guy animatronic. The Purple Guy animatronic legend is an urban legend revolving around FNAF in early 2015. A YouTube video service that reportedly showed a hidden animatronic reported to be the Purple Guy, who's at the time the only name we had for the main antagonist. The appearance of the Purple animatronic was preceded by a phone ringing, because we thought that he was also the phone guy. And then after the phone rang, the Purple animatronic would briefly flash on screen, slumped over against the wall in the office in a similar style to Golden Freddy. However, it was soon revealed that this was simply because the animatronic was simply a photoshopped image of Golden Freddy with a purple color and Chica's head. I think that it's pretty obvious that it was photoshopped, and I mean, like, we've used that image in thumbnails a couple of times, but no character like this has ever showed up in any of the games. But nevertheless, I'd still like to see it appear in the movie as like an Easter egg or a reference, okay? Same thing for And It Ain't Chucky. Now, while not canon in the FNAF universe, there is certainly no doubt that Chuck E. Cheese's was the inspiration for the FNAF series. And while yes, the comments about Chipper and Son's Lumber Co. characters looking like robots pushed Scott towards the idea, we've made a whole video about how FNAF and Chuck E. Cheese are the same thing. So getting a Chuck E. Cheese reference or Easter egg in the movie would be absolutely amazing. Even if it's someone just like proposing or pitching a new character that just so happens to look a hell of a lot like Chucky, that's good enough for me. There just needs to be some form of reference to it. Or if you're not going to do that, make a reference to one of the many FNAF fan games in the Fanverse initiative, okay? Make them at least slightly canon in the movie universe of the FNAF multiverse. Show us like a Candy's Burgers and Fries paper plate, or like an Nights At Freddy proposition, okay? I mean, you did it in Security Breach, why not make it into the movie? And 7, Ennard. Costumes don't really have to be elaborate to be scary. Take for example this Ennard cosplay by YouTube channel Skywarped33. The entire endoskeleton spaghetti bits aren't there, but the lights and sounds make it even more frightening than you'd think. The face also opens up, and I think that we all know how I feel about animatronics who can move their face at will at this point, okay? It's not something that should be allowed. However, even without all the parts and the eyes, this Ennard cosplay is not something I would want to run into in a dark alley, especially not after that goddamn vent repair minigame that caused me to have some serious issues, okay? It's rough, okay? I used to like spaghetti. Man, like now what am I supposed to do? And It Ain't Fredbear. With the concept of a Mike screenplay, I think that everything relating to the major events in not just Michael's life, but the Aftons' lives as a whole would be essential to see, especially a moment as life-changing as the Bite of 83. So the Fredbear animatronic in non-nightmare form is a must in my eyes, but also not very likely unless it's like a flashback sequence. They're probably not going to worry about the events of the games, but this would probably just be an effort to confirm the main character as Mike and prove that Mike isn't Crying Child, but also as an Easter egg for fans that will hopefully have the 1983 date on the flashback. But then again, every 87 believer is going to say that they're different universes, so it doesn't count as confirmation. Either way, I think a Fredbear appearance is kind of mandatory, but I'm not in the movie, so who knows what they think is required. Scott, you should have put me in the movie. How many FNAF videos have I f***ing made at this point? 500? Yeah. God. Halfway through into number 5, the Alpha Z group. Staff robots are much more humanoid, futuristic, and sci-fi themed than previous characters. Their bodies look very segmented, with torsos being a very small semicircle shape, and the legs being like a tower with 2 wheels. The robots have the word staff painted on their backs, and the color scheme of the robots are off-white with blue accents and large orange cheeks. Certain staff bots also hold different clothing depending on their job. One such is wearing a sombrero as a waiter in the El Chip restaurant, and one is wearing a cap and holding a flashlight as a patrol guard. yard. A group of staff robots, though, known as the Alpha Z group, are abandoned staff robots seen in the trash zone. These variants are much dirtier and duller in color due to just being abandoned and, you know, in the trash, and their faces have tears and large toothy smiles drawn on them. Their lower arms have black stripes drawn on them, and they have the words "in your dreams" written across their chests. Finally, each one has two small glowing pupils in the center of their cold black eyes. These are the Nightmare Mini Arenas, as I was calling them, that we saw teased in the first Freddy and Friends cartoon, as well as the ones that appear in the final trailer for Security Breach right at the end. So they're not Nightmare Mini Arenas, which honestly is, that's fine with me. I'm glad that that's the case. For Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy is a mysterious ghost-like entity who takes on the form of the yellow animatronic bear version of normal Freddy. Like I said, he has 15 different versions. He plays a prominent role in the FNAF series, although his origins are cryptic and unknown, but many speculate that Crying Child at least one point possessed the animatronic, which would be an easy confirmation to make in a movie about his brother. Or on the other hand, many also believe Golden Freddy to be possessed by Cassidy, and that Cassidy is also the vengeful spirit, aka the one you should not have killed. Although in my research, it's much more likely that Crying Child is the vengeful spirit and Cassidy is the one who actually possesses Golden Freddy, since it makes for a better story. And in all honesty, okay, Cassidy doesn't really have any significance. I'm sorry. It's true. Okay. Cassidy is at least less significant than Crying Child. Actually, you know, Cassidy has no meaning to the story at all, alright? The name reveal of Cassidy meant nothing to us. However, confirmation for any explanation or any sequence of events would be much appreciated. So needless to say, it would be great to see them, because it means that we might get something to help us figure this out properly. Maybe, unless the movie contradicts itself 10 minutes later, which I'm expecting. Penultimately, in at number 2, Foxy. Now, while Foxy may be a fan favorite and one of the core animatronics, it's pretty much guaranteed that he'll be in the movie. Although, while being in the core cast, there is another reason we need to see Foxy on the silver screen in the Mike story. Foxy bro. See, before we had seemingly confirmed the name of the older brother, since we were flip-flopping between whether Michael was the older brother or Crying Child's name, the only thing that we knew about the brother was that he enjoyed wearing the Foxy mask to scare Crying Child, seemingly also ripping the head off the stuffed version of the character, possibly due to jealousy. So we ended up nicknaming Michael Foxy Bro, mostly thanks to MatPat's suggestion. So I think that an animatronic that was highly associated with the character of Mike, or who at least we think Mike is, should absolutely be in the movie. And if not, I'm gonna be mad, alright? I wanna see a hook. And finally, in at number 1, Nightmares. I think that if this is really meant to be a horror movie, which it is, I mean, it's being produced by Blumhouse, after all, the company that made Paranormal Activity, the nightmares are basically a requirement to actually make this scary. Sorry, but the normal animatronics aren't really all that terrifying. Scariest part about those games is the sounds that appear with the animatronics, but the nightmares are truly terrifying, and one of the reasons I don't want to play FNAF 4 or the Night Terror levels of Help Wanted. It's why I didn't complete the game, because I would have had to play those. These things are just absolutely horrific and iconic within the series, especially since they're the reason there is a movie at all. As you well know, at this point, Scott was planning on ending the series after Game 3, but the hate on the Springtrap jump scare made him make another game, and which was FNAF 4, and then he kept on going. If not for the Nightmare animatronics and the Springtrap hate, there wouldn't be a FNAF movie, and I think that deserves to be represented. Of course in a dream sequence, but still, it's worth it. In at 10, Great Escape Golden Freddy. Great Escape Golden Freddy, or for short, simply Great Escape Freddy, is the first Golden Freddy skin that was added into FNAF AR. He received this skin as a part of the special mixed reality DLC game mode Dark Circus Encore that released on December 13th, 2021. Great Escape Golden Freddy is identical to Golden Freddy in coloration, still being yellow, but now is a much duller shade, with black and green splotches on his head, legs, and feet. His head is severely withered in multiple areas, with most of it being deteriorated or missing, including half of his top hat. His eye sockets are completely empty, with holes going through the endoskeleton head and a chain running through his mouth. But like, just looking at this thing, I already fear for my life like I'm in another dimension or like a secret area of the simulation. So seeing this thing in the back rooms wouldn't, in my mind, be out of place. I mean, if this is where like defective game implements go, this could be a simple explanation for how this mess of a creature got there, because I don't think that this is intentional. At least it shouldn't be. And at 8, Shadow Animatronics. The Shadow Animatronics are ghost-like entities with an unknown place of origin, whereabouts, and history. Shadow Freddy and RWQFSFASXC, aka Shadow Bonnie, are the only two recurring shadow animatronics from throughout the series. The shadow animatronics lack solid forms as they appear to be shadows, supernatural specter-like things with forms based on the Fazbear Entertainment animatronics. Most of them have very dark colors while sporting glowing white eyes and teeth, which is just perfect for the context of the backrooms. These dudes share a very similar style to the monster that we already see running around in the popular video series, and these dudes would pose an ever-looming threat that would really heighten the intensity of these videos. Imagine just like a shadow flying across the screen, or thinking you see some dark figure out of the corner of your eye, and then it's gone. A flashlight could be used as a defense mechanism. Okay, it would be cool. Okay, it would be cool. And in 7, Roxanne Wolf. Roxanne Wolf appears to be based on the female version of Wolf from Freddy in Space 2, which is a side-scrolling fighter game individually developed and published by Scott Cawthon for Game Theory's 9-hour St. Jude Children's Research Hospital fundraiser. It is the sequel to the original FNAF 57, Freddy in Space from FNAF World. This game was made for a FNAF fan named Skylar. He had a YouTube channel named Skylar Ginn, but Skylar unfortunately had cancer and died on October 6, 2019. Just as the other members of the Glamrocks, Roxy's dressed in the 1970s, more like 80s vibe. Her facial features greatly resemble both Foxy and Mangle, most notably with the lipstick and her amber eyes, and Roxanne, however, has visible metal segments below her eyes to resemble whiskers, but I don't know why they're very clearly metal. It's kind of weird. Opposed to the red cheeks like Mangle does. Roxanne's ears also have a light gray center lined at the edges with a gray outline, and she has 2 earrings on both ears, which is 4 more earrings than I have. And at 6, Nightmare Endo. Nightmare Endo is the animatronic endoskeleton of Nightmare Fredbear. He technically first debuted in FNAF 4, but returned as a minor Easter egg in Help Wanted to help provide a bit of context. Mostly since a lot of people, myself included, thought that Nightmare had a brain that was visible from the outside. I mean, I don't know why the Nightmare animatronic have an endoskeleton, or even why Nightmare especially has an endoskeleton, given that he's just a figment of Crime Child's coma-induced imagination, but nevertheless, Nightmare Endo is probably the scariest version of an endoskeleton that I have seen. Like, holy crap. If this thing doesn't belong in the backrooms, I don't think any of these would, cause like this one is freaky, but realistically made and discarded by the devs. Or maybe the animatronic that this was made for in Chuck E. Cheese ended up falling through the world and then got into the backrooms the same way we did. I don't know, I just think this style of character fits in here pretty well. Halfway through into number 5, Buff Helpy. Okay. This may not be a cosplay, but Buff Helpy is probably the most disturbing non-cosplay character I can really include on this list. If you didn't already know, Buff Helpy is a meme that was created on a Daco FNAF meme review video and has ever since been haunting him and the rest of the community. Don't get me wrong, okay? I love Helpy. But this Buff Helpy meme has generated a whole load of Buff FNAF character ideas, and it terrifies me now. There's nowhere is safe from these creations. If you look up any character, you're bound to find a buff version of them at some point. You just need to scroll down enough, okay? It's one of the rules of the internet, okay? Same thing with what happens to Chica. But no matter what, this is just some psychological torment that I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, actually. But I'm talking about it because, like, it's Halloween, and the world is currently my worst enemy, so if I have to look at this thing on a regular basis when I'm writing these goddamn lists, you have to look at it for this one number, okay? One number. That's all I ask. And at 4, the Blob. The Blob is an amalgamation of various animatronics that appears in FNAF Security Breach as a secret antagonist. And as its name suggests, the Blob is a huge mass of wire, tentacles, and animatronic parts possessing many glowing red eyes. However, this seems to be the right kind of monster that you would find in the backrooms. The Blob's mind is that of a mindless monster reacting with simple grunts and screeches that are both deep and distorted, as well as low mechanical sounding snoring noises. Some theorize that this implies all the animatronics making up the amalgamation are constantly fighting each other for control, which I think would fit perfectly with the monsters already established to be in the backrooms, especially those in the popular YouTube series that kinda brought back this creepypasta. Dude is like just a mass with a couple of animatronic plastic faces smacked on top. That is 100% something that you'd see out of like the corner of your eye in the corner of the frame, and then you'd pan to see it and it's gone. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, the Puppet. The Puppet is an animatronic puppet, obviously. That is a major antagonist, but also a good guy in the FNAF series. First appearing as the main antagonist of FNAF 2, but on later games showing its heroic side, it possibly serves as the prize vendor of the newly refurbished Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria in 1987, the one for FNAF 2, which also is a new one, but then also ends up becoming the old one. Although it's implied that it was originally from Fredbear's Family Diner, and that's a whole other can of worms that I am not going to talk about because hell no. After the pizzeria was only open for a few short weeks though, it was closed down, but the puppet, unlike the other toy animatronic were scrapped, possibly due to malfunctions, was not scrapped, later appearing in the new pizzeria from the first game as evidenced by the dream cutscenes, and appearing as Lefty in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, aka FNAF 6. Lefty was an animatronic intended to capture the puppet because Charlotte's father, Henry, knew that her soul possessed the animatronic. However, it's also widely believed that Charlotte was William's first victim, meaning that overall they have the most significance to the story. So definitely required if we're going to have a story based on William Afton's crime spree and how it affects his only living child, which is the whole concept for FNAF, so I'm guessing it's gonna happen. But ultimately, and at number 2, Burn Trap. Burn Trap is the final boss of the true ending in FNAF Security Breach, and the last remains of William Afton's physical body after the events of Pizzeria Simulator. Just like Spring Trap and Scrap Trap from previous FNAF games, Burn Trap is a withered spring body animatronic infused with the corpse of William Afton. However, unlike the previous two, very little suit remains on his body, only having a head, ears, torso, pelvis, left thigh, and left foot. His endoskeleton appears to be a mixture of Springlock and Glamrock endoskeletons, and this dude is the scariest version of Afton yet. And I think it's kind of a monstrosity, and I think that this kind of monstrosity would fit perfectly within the style of the backrooms. He limps because he wasn't fully charged, he's part sentient code, which seems like the kind of lore that they would include, and he's just blatantly terrifying. If any version of Afton is going to be in the backrooms, it would be Burn Trap 100%, no question. And finally, in at number 1, Nightmare-On. Nightmare-On, commonly referred to as the Nightmare Puppet or Nightmarionette, is a nightmare animatronic in the FNAF series, first appearing in the Halloween update for FNAF 4, where it replaces Nightmare and thus shares the same behavior. But using the same argument as the Blob with the whole tentacle situation, Nightmare-On is probably the most backrooms animatronic we have. Period. While yes, they did appear in FNAF 4's Halloween update, they also made an appearance in FNAF VR, where they antagonize the player in one of the Night Terror levels. But it's within this level where you can actually see how far of a reach this animatronic has, since if you look up to the ceiling and towards the bed, you can see tentacles slowly start to enter your room that you need to scare away with your flashlight. So basically, based on the really prevalent monster that we see in the back rooms, this man fits the bill right on, smack dab in the middle, plus a like 25% tip, just saying. And it's in Glamrock Freddy. Glamrock Freddy is one of the new Glamrock animatronics in Security Breach. He's obviously the Glamrock version of Freddy Fazbear. Glamrock Freddy is based off the original Freddy Fazbear, but with an early UK 1970s vibe. Similar to Toy Freddy, he has a top hat, now with the thin blue stripe just above its brim. His microphone is now on a stand in which Glamrock Freddy holds so he can pull some sweet moves. And he is more rectangular in shape, but we still love a blocky boy. A light blue stripe is seen at the center of his bottom jaw. Glamrock Freddy within the game is Gregory's protector, attempting to help him survive until 6 AM and escape, with the player being able to climb into his stomach, which is being referred to as the birthday cake hatch on the PlayStation blog, and take control and hide from and evade other animatronics in certain sections. However, this usage is limited, and he will lose power and be forced to recharge before you can use him again. He was voiced by Kellen Goff, who also voiced Funtime Freddy in Sister Location, Rockstar Freddy, Mr. Hippo, and Funtime Foxy in Ultimate Custom Night, and an unused Bonnie voice from FNAF VR. And at 9, Glamrock Chica. This version of Chica is an antagonist. She is the Glamrock version of the original Chica, but these could also just be potentially reused toy animatronics. Just like the other members of the Glamrocks, she is dressed in a 1970s vibe. She is a white-pink chicken with an orange beak, blue eyes, pink eyelids, and long eyelashes and orange feet, because you know, all chickens have this. She also has a few stray feathers that stick out from the top of her head and kind of act like hair with a pink bow around them, visible pink metal segments below her left eye, and a pink eyeliner above her right eye. Just like her toy and Funtime counterparts, this version of Glamrock Chica is noticeably more curvy, rather than simply round as like the original Chica is, which is gonna mean a whole lot more fan art. Chica also holds a blueberry blue and hot pink star-shaped guitar, and just like all of the Glamrocks, her eyes can be seen glowing red at times, which could also indicate facial recognition, just like the original toy animatronics had, even though it didn't really work because it was programmed programmed by a serial killer. And at 8, Montgomery Gator. As an antagonist, Montgomery is an animatronic based on an alligator. He's actually the first animatronic to be based on a reptile. Just like the other members of the Glamrocks, he is designed to have a punk rock theme, thus dressed in an early 1970s aesthetic, and Monty is overall just colored green with patches of yellow on his stomach, jaw, and subsegments on his tail, and spots on his reptilian textured body, cause, you know, apparently the wiki had to specify that. He bears a red mohawk and a green colored suit of armor, which you won't be able to see on the green screen, cause you know, it's green. He has sharp teeth and claws painted in black, his eyelids, a streak-like paint on the muzzle, feet, and hands, excluding the fingers, are also tinted a purple color, and Montgomery ends up helping the Glamrock animatronic band as a bassist, although the fisherman in me wants to say bassist. He seems to be very tough or strong since we see him burst through a gate in the first gameplay trailer, as well as destroying a prop turret in the second, which is the most recent one. In Fury's Rage, he's also shown to be very self-loving and egotistical, stating that when he's defeated, "How can I lose? I'm so handsome." And honestly, I relate. And at 7, Phantom animatronics. The Phantom animatronics are hallucination variants of the original animatronics who haunt in Fazbear's Fright throughout the nights in FNAF 3. The Freddy Files book also points out that these hallucinations also appear burnt, suggesting that they're trying to warn you of what's to come. The Phantom animatronics first appeared in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 as side antagonists, some of them returned in Ultimate Custom Night, and then they all came back in Help Wanted. But given that these are hallucinations, it's entirely possible that these Phantom animatronics could appear in the back rooms. Think about it. If you're stuck in an endless void of what looks to be the same area for who knows how long, you're gonna start to go crazy. Even if you don't, sleep deprivation at the hands of not wanting to get caught by the monster already in there would surely cause you to start hallucinating after being awake for 48 hours. So those hallucinations could very well be the same ones from FNAF 3, especially if you're a fan of the series. And at 6, Daycare Attendant. The Daycare Attendant, as it's referred to on the wiki, is actually just the Sundance or Moondrop animatronic that we've been seeing since the first trailer. The Daycare Attendant features a crescent moon-shaped head with half of it being colored in black to fill in the missing portion. Its face is a large nose and large grin, coupled with 2 red glowing eyes, one of which is above the tip of its nose, because you know, we gotta love that. Its hands are the same white color with dark blue fingernails. It wears 2 leather wristbands and ribbons coming off of them, and a light blue nightcap and baggy pants covered in stars. In its sun version, it's colored almost entirely out of various shades of yellow. Its pants are now yellow and covered in brown stripes, and it has large yellow triangles protruding from its head to emulate those of the sun. You know how like kids draw suns? It's like that. Plus, its voice is just creepy as hell, especially in moon mode. If you watch the last trailer, holy crap. It's also implied through the trailer that Sundance might actually be a guide, sticking close to the player and warning them about the time. Once it reaches a certain point though, like at night, Sundance will end up turning into Moondrop and then chase after the player. However, I haven't gotten the chance to play the game yet, like I said. I'm playing it in like 20-30 minutes or something like that. When I take my lunch break, I'm going home to play it. So I'm unable to substantiate this claim at this time. But I'll be able to in like an hour. And at 4, Destroyed Roxanne Wolf. In the 3rd episode of Freddy and Friends, a damaged Roxanne is shown for a single frame. While it's hard to make out what she looks like due to the severe glitches, because you know, of course. She appears to have her eyes missing, as well as her now missing a large chunk of her face around the eyes. It is possible that she will have glowing robotic eyes similar to the ones of Withered Bonnie, or I guess the Alpha Z group. I'm still gonna call them Nightmare Mini Arenas because it's just easier. But in a poster Steel Wool released around last Christmas, it shows Roxanne holding a bag of coal with a sour expression. This could be implying that Roxanne is a somewhat rude, mischievous, and sour person. Or I guess thing. Personality. She has a bad personality. She also seems to be the most aggressive of the animatronics, as she can be seen chasing the player as well as clamping her jaw while attempting to push through a metal gate. So basically she's the animatronic version of my father. Since also Roxanne seems to wander around the Pizzaplex aimlessly until spotting Gregory and then charging at him. Kinda like my father does. It's likely that when inside Glamrock Freddy she won't notice the player at all and will just still stand in place. Kinda like my dad too. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Glitch Trap. We know my issue with Glitch Trap, alright, okay? We know that I just want to watch William Afton burn and then leave him there permanently, hence why I'm wearing the costume. But I want him to actually be in hell and then stay there while we move on with another killer or something else in the series, please for God's sake, Scott. I hate this always comes back thing that he's got going on. And despite being dressed as Purple Guy, I want William dead. So, when I saw this frighteningly realistic looking Glitch Trap costume, my nerves hit an all-time high. I think the sheer simplicity of the Glitch Trap suit suit is certainly something that makes this a creepy costume, since the stitches are very accentuated here. They're very clear on this version. Like, it might be like the higher contrast than like the actual suit in the games, because like you know that they're there, but you can't really tell. But like, either way, this is creepy. Plus, again, it's another version of William Goddamn Afton, who already haunts my nightmares. So what the heck? Zombunny Creations, again, on Twitter this time. Why do you gotta do this to me? Huh? Why? Bro? Penultimately, in at number 2, Music Man Spider. Security Breach introduces a new variant of Music Man who is much larger. The wiki calls him DJ Music Man, but it also says that that's just the placeholder and it will be replaced once something official comes out. Personally, I still prefer my name of Music Man Spider, mostly because it's a reference to Spider-Man from the 90s cartoon. This Music Man is extremely similar in head shape to the original, however many of the details have been swapped out. And he now has blue eyebrows and cheeks as well as pink nose and lipstick. His top hat now holds a green stripe, and the top row of his teeth are decorated to look like piano keys. He now dons a large pair of green and red headphones and wears big cartoony gloves on 6 spider-like limbs. Finally, this variant of Music Man is much larger than in the original, being about a story tall, with this character being teased in the 2nd or 3rd Freddy and Friends cartoon. I believe it was the 3rd if I remember correctly. And the fact that MatPat was not only able to call it, but also have it be revealed shortly after he did call it, that's what makes me know that he is the true king of FNAF, okay? Despite Dawko and Markiplier's sub count, and despite the amount of videos that I've made on the subject. We have like almost a year's worth of FNAF videos, guys, okay? That's concerning. And finally, into number 1, Tentacle Monster. Now, this unknown tentacle-based animatronic could be one of many things, and is something MatPat talks about in his latest theories. However, while most people associate tentacles with Nightmare On, it would be very weird to see them appear in this game, since technically speaking, they're just like Freddy Fazbear in our universe. Since while yes, they appeared in FNAF 4, their appearance in that game was not canon. However, their appearance in the Night Terrors of FNAF VR was canon. Therefore, in the FNAF universe, they only exist as a video game character canonically, so seeing them appear in the real world would be confusing, but not impossible given that Glitchtrap is currently sentient code and also seems to be pulling things out of the Fazbear archives. More on that in a couple days, because I recorded that video a while ago, but I think it's going out like Sunday should be the release. That's on Sunday. I'll talk more about whatever Glitchtrap's doing. However, MatPat proposed that this animatronic revealed at the end of the first Freddy and Friends video is actually Baby, like we see here in the Fazbear Frights epilogues. And while that could be the case, I don't know how accurate that can be. Considering how the final book revealing this twist, they were said to come out after the initial release of Security Breach. So perhaps that was the intention, that it would be Baby, but it would have just been a mystery in this game and then revealed properly in the books, but now the surprise is kind of spoiled, but oh well, it's still something.